My name is Stacey Lowman. I'm Head of Employee Wellbeing and a financial coach at Claro. I have 14 years experience in the financial services industry. Started in September 2008, middle of the credit crisis, as an investment banker at Canary Wharf. And then I did a decade in asset management before leaving big corporate and a big paycheck to go self-employed. And then through the pandemic, I worked as a financial coach remotely from my camper van around Europe until Claro found me, thankfully, in 2021. And one particular passion area for me is using our money as a force for good, for ourselves, for others, and for the planet. And I want all of us to be ambitious about the potential impact of our personal finances on individuals, on organisations, and on society as a whole. So this is us, this is Claro. We believe financial wellbeing can be transformative for your business and your individual employees. And we offer one-to-one financial coaching, group webinars and workshops, curated courses and content, and various digital-led budgeting tools and financial calculators on our financial wellbeing platform. Now, I wanted to challenge myself with the topic of the session today and venture into some new ground. So let's see if I pull it off. How to create a financial wellbeing strategy that is non-exclusive and inclusive. As we know, financial wellbeing has been a priority for many people teams this year, and that's had increasing urgency in light of the cost of living crisis. And the benefits and positive impacts of financial wellbeing have been widely discussed, and I'm guessing that most of us in this room already buy into those benefits. But we are still learning how to design and deliver the right offering with the right partner within the right budget. So whilst we're still in this learning process, I wanted to pose some new questions and perspectives to encourage employers and other financial wellbeing providers to co-create strategies that can be values aligned and inclusive from the outset. Unfortunately, I don't have all the answers myself, but we at Claro are striving for them, and that begins by asking the challenging, difficult questions and collaborating with our partners, with our clients, with employees to explore those questions further. So today is about starting that conversation and hopefully continuing that with some of you after the session. So in the spirit of testing assumptions, we do have a poll that I'd like you all to participate in. If we just get that set up, please. And I'd like you to answer, within your organisation currently, what is the biggest challenge with creating your organisation's financial wellbeing offering? Is that budget? Is that finding the right financial wellbeing partner? Is it finding the product or solution suitable for your employees? Or understanding the financial wellbeing needs and requirements of your employees in the first place? Okay, great. So understanding the financial wellbeing needs and requirements of your employees. Interesting. Okay, budget is getting up there. Slow down, budget. Okay, great. Is that all of the answers submitted? Thank you. Well, it's kind of like I set that up, really, because that's probably the one answer that's most suitable for the content today. So in the short 15 minutes that I've got left, I'm going to touch upon how to create a financial wellbeing strategy that is non-exclusive and inclusive, challenging the financial assumptions we apply to different employee demographics, unintentional exclusion and how to avoid it, and understanding how financial wellbeing supports wider ESG initiatives and towards the Sustainable Development Goals. I think it starts with getting the foundations right. So listening to employees, reviewing what financial wellbeing benefits you already have, and creating a workplace environment that destigmatizes money conversations. And this is an ongoing process. So we may all have our assumptions around what financial wellbeing products and services are suitable for our people, who feels included and who feels excluded, but we need to engage our people to test if those assumptions are correct. We may do this through data gathering on the demographics of our team, their financial goals and stresses, what they want to get out of a financial wellbeing offering, and how they want that offering to be delivered. And there's a few ways that Claro works with employees to support them in doing that. So creating bespoke questionnaires, collecting financial wellbeing stories from individuals, and hosting focus groups for more in-depth insights. And these insights should obviously underpin the financial wellbeing offering that you ultimately deliver. Alongside this, analysing engagement data on the financial wellbeing benefits you already have can help you to identify where the gaps might be and how these existing benefits may need to be repositioned to improve engagement and inclusivity. But let's remember that talking and sharing financial numbers and feelings is still new and taboo for employers and employees alike. So for this information gathering process to be truly valuable and for people to give us honest responses, we need to provide safe and appropriate places for those money conversations, protect the confidentiality and trust of our employees, and acknowledge the very personal nature of the topic. Now, some ways an employer can do this is through working with external partners to ensure anonymity of individuals, or role modelling transparency themselves. So, for example, sharing how business finances have been impacted by the cost of living crisis, or publishing your gender pay gap and having conversations around that. Another approach may be looking at initiatives you've launched in the mental wellbeing space, in the physical wellbeing space, or other D&I initiatives, and learn what helped breaking down taboos in those areas and how you can apply those lessons to the financial wellbeing space too. Now, I appreciate that all of this comes with the employer having to be vulnerable. Asking questions and listening to an employee means we're opening ourselves up to criticism, to setting expectations we might not know if we can meet, and adding to already long to-do lists and tight budgets. But it's what I believe we need to do to offer genuinely inclusive financial wellbeing offerings in the long term and ensure that what we do launch in the financial wellbeing space is genuinely making a difference. So here are some principles that we're developing to ensure an inclusive, accessible, adaptable financial wellbeing offering. Keep the why of your financial wellbeing offering consistent across the business, but allow teams to adapt the delivery in the way that works for them. Identify and nurture your financial wellbeing champions, and hopefully that includes your leadership team, and engage the cynics. There's lots of value and lessons to be learnt from your cynics, and nothing more rewarding than when you convert them. Design an effective, timely, consistent comms plan. So use the language of your employees to talk about your offering. Identify business and economic milestones throughout the year that are useful prompts to talk about money, and keep teams informed of what's available and how your financial wellbeing offering is evolving. And create touch points for feedback and two-way communication, and share stories, successes, and encourage peer learning. It improves financial confidence if we can support each other and share tips with each other, and makes many of us realise that in some ways we're better with money than we think we are. And some things to avoid: assuming anyone's personal financial situation and state of financial health, advising employees what they should do with their finances. This can obviously be detrimental to trust and risk further exclusion, and avoid a one-size-fits-all approach. One way Claro is trying to promote inclusivity and accessibility is by designing a modular financial wellbeing platform where organisations can pick and choose from our range of tech solutions and human services, and design trial packages to allow your employees to test what works for them. So I've highlighted on the slide in the red there where Claro sits within the financial wellbeing landscape. You'll notice that we don't offer any financial products ourselves because we want to keep the focus on education, guidance, individual empowerment. So as an example, an employer might set up a pilot program that includes 3 webinars over 3 months, topics chosen by your employees, with a dozen one-to-one coaching sessions and access to our online courses, with questionnaires and feedback throughout to understand requirements and measure impact. A client may then choose to add our budgeting tool for particularly tech-savvy teams, or train some financial first aiders if there are team members who are particularly interested in that type of personal development, or offer WhatsApp with a coach for those working away from a laptop. So we want to be able to flex our approach to the needs and makeup of each organisation that we work with, and also work alongside potential other products and partners that you have delivering other types of wellbeing services. So challenging the financial assumptions we apply to different employee demographics. We all make assumptions around people's finances. It's kind of part of being human and being part of a social media-led world. But instead of eliminating those assumptions, what we can aim to do is identify the assumptions we're making and seek to understand if they are true. So to bring this to life a little bit, I'm going to share some data from Claro's Workplace Today report. And I've identified 3 assumptions that I have previously made about income, gender, age, that were actually found to be untrue in our data. So firstly, one assumption was that lower paid employees are less productive due to financial stress. So the rationale for this might be they're making less money, so they have higher financial stress, that impacts their productivity and performance at work. But one interesting data point that challenged this thinking was we found that the highest paid employees are more than twice as likely as the lowest paid to spend time on their personal finances at work. Now, this may be because higher paid workers have more money to manage. They feel like they have more to lose, so they spend more time thinking about and managing that money during the working day. And from a wellbeing perspective, we also found that 12% of those with a household income of £75,000 to £99,000 reported low financial confidence. So we can't assume that higher salaries bring immunity from financial stress. For gender, I was tempted to talk about the assumption that women make better investors, but I already know that one to be true. So instead, I've had a number of employers at conferences like this come up to us and say, how can Claro help me get our male employees to talk more about money? So I tested the common assumption that men don't want to talk about money. Now, when we asked, when we asked what free financial wellbeing benefits would you welcome from your employer, more men chose financial coaching and group webinars than women, suggesting that maybe men are more open to talking about money than we think. Thank you, assistant/boss. And finally, given the rise of financial influences, the excitement around cryptocurrency and the FIRE movement, my assumption was that financial well-being was a benefit that appealed more to younger employees. But actually, when we asked employees to select from a list of workplace benefits what they thought was a waste of money, 21% of young employees chose financial well-being compared to none of the older employees surveyed. Now, this would be a really interesting result to explore in a focus group. Is it because, with hindsight, older employees have learnt from mistakes and wish they'd had financial well-being at a younger age? Is it because younger employees are burying their head in the sand? Is it because they're looking elsewhere, outside of work, for their financial education? Or is it something to do with how employers are communicating the financial well-being benefits on offer? Or something else? We'll have to ask them. So there are many assumptions like that we make that contribute to some employees potentially feeling excluded. And I've listed many factors on here that you could scan through. One example I have from yesterday is an assumption around job role. So I was running a workshop on budgeting, and a man walked in a couple of minutes late. And one of his female colleagues on the front row said, "What are you doing here? You work in finance." And some people laughed, and I got swept away with it and said, "Yeah, do you want to swap places and you run the session for me?" And I immediately regretted it, and I could see that he was embarrassed, because working in finance doesn't mean that you're good at budgeting, and it was a really damaging stereotype for me to play up to. And I had to apologise later in the session because he probably felt less welcome in the session than I should have made him feel. And I've also run budgeting sessions for the finance team at Santander, so obviously there is value in doing that, and it was an unhelpful assumption. The other list on this slide is ways that you can challenge these assumptions and try to minimise exclusion. So some I've already mentioned today, but I'll pick out a couple. You could share external research on financial well-being and benchmarking with your internal teams and get their views on if the findings also resonate with them. Claro has a financial wellbeing calculator on our website that automatically collates lots of credible financial wellbeing reports from different providers. That is a good starting place for you to do this. Or we can work with you to train financial first aiders, much like mental health first aiders, if you have those in the organisation, that offer a confidential space for colleagues to talk to each other about ways in which they may feel excluded and how they could communicate to their people teams. But ultimately, it's all about listening and being open to having those conversations. And making your offering more inclusive doesn't mean big projects and big costs necessarily. So a small example from Claro is how we've designed the booking process for one-to-one financial coaching sessions. Individuals can go onto the platform and select a particular topic for their coaching session. So sorting out your debts or managing money in relationships. Some of these topics may carry stigma. So by us naming them from the outset, we're telling people, hey, you're not alone. These are financial issues many of us face, and it's okay to talk to us about them. So from one huge topic to another, I also wanted to just touch on how a financial wellbeing offering can support wider ESG initiatives and support progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals in just a few minutes. So we've done some idea generation here at Claro and asked clients for their views on the topic. And I've just listed some ideas on 3 different slides, one for environmental, social and governance issues, with the relevant SDGs for each on the right-hand side. Now, in the interest of time, I'll just pick a couple of examples from each slide, which hopefully provide some inspiration. For environmental, does your workplace pension offer a sustainable investment option? And have you communicated that as an option to your employees? Does your benefits platform offer discounts with B Corps or companies with strong environmental values? Or could you offer financial incentives for environmental action? So, example, planting trees for access to different retail discounts. For social, this is a really juicy one, but are you acknowledging the overall impact of finances on the well-being of your employees? Or demonstrating how your financial wellbeing initiatives help to address financial inclusion in society? Or can you create a sense of community and support through your financial wellbeing activities, or run a group session on how your colleagues can support each other through the cost of living crisis? And finally, from a governance perspective, how can you promote transparency around your pay review process or gender pay gap? Are you a national living wage employer? Can you seek external accreditations or become signatories to various campaigns that demonstrate a commitment to ethical decision-making in your business? How are you using data to inform and measure the impact of your financial wellbeing offering? And what partnerships can you create outside of the organisation to level up your financial wellbeing offering? Now, if your organisation is making waves in this space or looking at how you measure ESG impacts, I would really love to talk to you after the session. But I can see the red light. So there's so much more that I would like to talk about, both around inclusivity and ESG. But like I said, this was just the start of the conversation. Hopefully it's been some inspiration at the end of your day to kind of prompt new ways of approaching financial well-being. But I'll just leave you with a few takeaway thoughts to ponder on. So what assumptions might your organisation be making around your employees' financial well-being, and how might you test these? How could you reframe what you already have to increase inclusivity and engagement? And how do your financial well-being initiatives align with your ESG ambitions now and going forward? But thank you very much for listening.